vice president of sales. He goes, is that what you want? I go, no, senior vice president of sales. All the work that I was putting in, all the time, the effort, the relationships, the reputation started to lead to revenue.
It all came together.
Those 3 R's, the relationships, the reputation that I created, and then the revenue, I put it all together. All of a sudden, we start making money.
Everyone, welcome to another episode of the Alchemist Lounge. And today in the lounge, we have the sauce, Adam Sosnick.
Dude, you're so chill. Hey, man. Hey, y'all.
It's a lounge, dude. It's got to be
lounging.
chill.
Listen, I was born and raised in South Beach lounges, so
there you
I'm
go.
ready for everything.
We got a Miami boy.
Alex and the Alchemist Lounge is ready to throw my way.
I do. He's got no socks on, so he's clearly from...
No. Some lower socks, you know.
Oh.
Hit him. Let him know that you think you're
yeah.
sweating. You're not sweating.
Yeah, let him know.
Never
you don't
let
have
him see you
cankles.
sweat.
So here we are with Adam. So as you guys know, a couple months ago, we had Vinny Oshana, who's the comedy writer for PBD Podcast. If you guys don't know PBD Podcast, it's really changing the game in the way, I guess you can call it the youth, view politics. It's kind of like taking politics and turning it into almost a sport. And for many of us, we know that masculinity has been kind of sucked out of the conversation quite a bit. And if you listen to the PBD podcast, you're going to find that that's not the case. The way that the host and people like Adam, who's on the show, the way they treat things is from a very truthful point of view, and they say it like it is, and there's like literally no spin. So, Adam, thank you for joining the show. Thank you for coming on the lounge.
Dude, thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely.
I'm excited where this conversation goes.
It's going to go everywhere.
Let's go.
But we're going to start in this place. I want to get two things. So when I think about what happened to Diddy, now I grew up in the hip hop generation.
Yeah.
And
where'd you grow up? What area?
In DC.
In DC.
In the DC area.
Okay.
Right?
Who were the biggest
in the
rappers
90s.
in DC in the 80s and 90s?
So,
I don't know if there was
so you're not
anybody-
going to know about, okay, so you're not going to know about the DC.
They had the go-go music.
I
whatever
can't
it was
believe
called.
you said that.
Yeah, Alex, you don't think I know things? Come on.
How do you know that?
I've been around the block, baby. I've been in the music scene and the sports scene and the Hollywood scene and the Miami scene and the business scene. I get around.
I like that.
I'm 184 years old. I just look good.
You just
Yeah, I know. I had some
immediately-
friends in Virginia.
You
DC,
immediately
the go-go.
gained my respect. So
Okay, gotcha.
So in DC, the go-go was where it was at.
Yeah.
But we were so close to New York.
Yep.
And obviously, if you grow up in the early to mid 90s, hip hop was what the culture was. I mean, that's the culture we grew up in. The 80s was some kind of weird, some kind of loud clothing, cocaine vibe, techno, whatever that was.
Yeah.
And we threw that away. But with the hip hop culture came, you know, you want to call it misogyny, you want to call it a lifestyle that was a little bit dark. It was maybe a little bit masculine. It was very much about taking care of yourself and rising up. But it slowly turned into, at least from my perspective, a very materialistic, a very sort of me type of culture.
Yeah.
And so I guess the question is, you see what happened to Diddy.
Oh, yeah.
You know that a lot of the songs from back in the day were about pimping hoes. It was about, getting money. It was about being in control, being able to flood the streets, whatever that meant. Do you think that had anything to do with Diddy? And do you think that that culture and lifestyle is pervasive to have people eventually end up with that sort of dark energy?
Whoa. Big question here. So did Diddy do it, right? That's the whole thing.
Diddy did it.
So I grew up in Miami, and just like you had your go-go music in DC, we had our what was called like Miami booty music. And we had like Luke and the 2 Live Crew. We had like the 69 Boys and 95 South and Pitbull before he was Pitbull and Trick Daddy. This was all in the 80s and 90s. And I thought everybody was just listening to Miami booty music. No. Every city, every area had their own slice of hip hop. I think, in the 70s is before I was born. It was disco that was sort of taken over, and it was the, Club 54, Studio 54 going on in New York. And I'll never forget the first time I started listening to hip hop. I'm going to get to Diddy. Yeah. The first hip hop song I remember was Brass Monkey by the Beastie Boys.
That funky monkey.
That funky monkey. Dun, dun,
Bass
dun.
monkey.
'Cause I'm 6 years old. It's 1986, 1987, whatever it was. And, you know, you hear a song about a monkey as a kid. You're like, what's this all about?
Yeah.
I remember some of the older kids, the 9 and 10-year-olds, were playing Beastie Boys. And I was like, oh, I like this. And it turns out it's 3 Jewish kids from Brooklyn or whatever it was. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then all of a sudden, boom, rap or hip hop started to go mainstream, pop culture. How did it start? MC Hammer, you can't touch this. No. Yeah. Vanilla Ice, dung, 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 dung.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is sick.
It was kind of clean.
Oh, it was clean. And then you had
Except
things
for
like-
Luke.
Luke was not clean. It was literally, I think the album he has was like as nasty as they want to be.
Yeah.
So I'm just, you know, coming of my own. I'm in elementary school. I'm going to the dances. I'm starting to go to like bar mitzvahs and stuff, going to birthdays. And hip hop's a thing. And I you know, the what was the, I said a hip.
Hop,
The hip to the hip to the hip. hip hop,
Sugar Hill Gang.
Rapper's Delight.
Sugar Hill Gang, yeah.
It was fun. It was vibrant.
Yeah.
You know, even the Boogie Down Bronx, everything that KRS was talking about, or even when they got serious, like don't push me because
I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head.
All that. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great. And then something happened in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
Right? Wu-Tang started showing up.
Yeah.
Little like thuggery.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Outkast was doing their thing in Atlanta.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you know, West Coast starts showing up. You know, 1992 was Snoop and Dre, right?
Yep. 93.
93, is that
Yeah.
what it was? The Chronic came out.
The Chronic.
All right, boom, that happens. Biggie shows up. This is mid 90s now. And all of a sudden, this East Coast, West Coast beef starts happening.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't like, you know, rap and hip hop. And the reason, I'm a fan, whatever, but my first job out of college, I worked in radio, worked for iHeartMedia, which was formerly known as Clear Channel. So I understand the mechanics. I understand behind the scenes, how you get on the air, how you get on the radio.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with different channels. This is pre-social media. Napster's like barely a thing. And I'm learning all this, but all of a sudden this East Coast, West Coast beef comes out. And the cornerstones of all this were Biggie was the East Coast and Tupac was the West Coast.
Yep.
And we recently had Suge Knight, PBD interview with Suge Knight in jail. Every 15 minutes, it would be like, this is a collect call from what I was like, okay. But these two male figures, these archetypes of West Coast, East Coast, get up. And Suge Knight was the guy representing the West Coast. You know, East Coast don't got no love for Death Row. That whole thing.
Yeah.
And then Biggie was the guy. But behind the scenes was Diddy. And we've all seen that video of Diddy being like, you know, I want this, you know, there's nothing I can't do. You've seen that thing on he's at Bad Boy Records and he slams the phone. He's like, I'm a savage.
Yeah.
So, you know, the Jordan Peterson quote, you know, every man must be a warrior, a freaking warrior, but then you must learn how to control it. So to Diddy's situation, here's a guy who literally helped create hip hop as we know it, helped build Biggie, Faith Evans, you know, whoever was part of the Bad Boy Records, Junior Mafia, Prime 112, 112, Prime 112 is a restaurant in Miami. All these guys, they built this thing, and all of a sudden, boom, catapulted. You know, Biggie dies. And then they come out with the song, Every Time You Die. They steal the song from
Was it the
Sting,
Police?
I believe. Yeah, the Police.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Diddy starts to become that dude. Now, obviously, Jay-Z's the guy in New York, but Diddy starts to become not just the producer, but the performer. Now he recruits Mace. He's doing his thing with Mace. The hype man. He's doing his thing. So what I'm saying is like this is for a message for maybe any entrepreneur that has found success, because I know you've dealt with a lot of CEOs and kind of finding that next hill. You know, I'm going to take a weird angle here with Marcus Aurelius, but if you're the guy that becomes that dude, and you're the man, you built Biggie, you built Bad Boy, all of a sudden, everything that was going on, Tupac's dead, what happened there? You know, Snoop, Dre, everything that happened, that Suge Knight's in jail. Now you're sort of like the last man standing. You do your record No Way Out, where you remix that, all those songs, and then all about the Benjamins, baby. All about the Benjamins. So all of
Yeah.
a sudden he starts making money. He's doing songs about more money, more problems. All of a sudden you can say in the music, all right, here's this guy, entrepreneur, savage, starts to become a millionaire, multimillionaire, starts making music about more money, more problems, all about the Benjamins, baby. Boom. At some point, it went from the hustler, the entrepreneur, the savage, to clearly egomaniac, nobody is telling him, hey man, maybe you shouldn't do that. The reason I brought up Marcus Aurelius, if you ever read the book Meditations about Stoicism, here's the guy, Emperor of Rome, that would go around, everywhere he went, he'd have a slave walk behind him and constantly remind him, you're not as important as you think you are. You're just a human. You're gonna die. Reality check, right? Gratitude, perspective.
Yeah.
And I don't think Diddy had anyone like that in his corner. I don't know. I don't know him like that. I've been to parties of his Miami's. I've drank so much Ciroc in my party days that I probably literally don't remember. But here's a guy that went from Puff Daddy to P. Diddy to Diddy to Brother Love to Puff to this to that, wherever he is now, just constantly growing and growing and growing. And now we're starting to see the ramifications of basically unchecked power.
Yeah.
And to kind of get the final point, when the founders of our country, weird analogy, set up our constitution, our form of government, it was checks and balance system, right? The three branches of government, executive, judicial, and congressional, everything that legislative. But then there's also the media, the fourth power, the power of the press, the fourth state. So I don't know who he was checking Diddy. So clearly this is a guy whose ego and ambitions took a complete, left turn. And when you have that much money and that much power and that much ego and nobody's telling you, hey, bro, this all could come crumbling down one day. Not me, bro. Never. I'm Diddy. Now he's paying the price. We're going to see what happens with him next.
Yeah. Well, you said something interesting there about stoicism. And when you think about the beginnings of hip hop and how it evolved, it was, I think it was anything but stoic. It was one of the, you know what I'm saying?
Bravado,
machismo, but it was totally unchecked. So for somebody that comes from the 90s, like you do, meaning I came into, understanding what the hell was going on in the late 80s, 90s, I immediately got hit with that. Like, oh, that's how it works. You can go out there and you can crush it. Right. And you can go out there and you can go and do whatever it takes to anything. What was the old 50 Cent, get rich or die trying. Right. Of course. So you just do whatever it is to get rich. And so when you're Diddy and you've reached that, it's like, now what? Right. Like you don't stop. I think it was Maharishi who said the nature of life is to grow. Right. Mm-hmm. So if you're at that point, and there you are. I mean, what else could you want, right? You got a Grammy, you got the key to the city, you got all this going on. Now what? You got to go somewhere, right?
It's a song, Money, Power, Respect, Key to Life, Money, Power, Respect.
So that's what I'm saying. So they're saying that, but hold up now. Now they're saying that in the culture.
Yeah.
You dig it? They're saying it in the culture. Money, Power, Respect, that was the locks. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. But you could take that same ethos and you could spread it across the culture. So what I'm saying now is, and by the way, you had a guy like Don Bishop Magic Wand, who was a really good friend of Snoop. And the pimp, right?
Hey, bring your green hat.
Yeah, exactly. And you had Too Short, who was literally old school, doing that. Like he was a pimp. There is no way in today's society that is acceptable. And yet it's the foundation of hip hop. It's like the foundation of what we know as hip hop. Not Sugar Hill Gang, not all the positivity that came in the 80s, but that's what it is. So when you get caught up in that and you're thinking money, power, respect, you don't have the other side of that. You don't have, well, what is respect? Like respecting yourself. Is it respecting yourself to do what you're doing? Like, does that allow for you to be a true masculine? Now, when I love that you said stoicism, because when you say stoicism, I think of true masculinity. I think of stoicism in being the grounding. You know what I mean? The grounding, the land that everything is a part of, right? And I think that's where, when you got an unchecked Diddy, he could have done anything. I mean, he probably could have killed people and thought he can get away with it because in his world, he's at the top. He made it as high as you can go.
Yeah.
You know?
You're a mafia boss in the hip hop world, basically.
You're a mafia.
You're untouchable, so to speak.
You're untouchable. But first of all, I want to talk a little bit about your time with iHeart because I really want to get into how you got to where you are today. Because I know you did a lot of cold calling. you did a lot of like interesting jobs in the past. But I want to touch on politics quickly because I don't know if it's me and the generation. I'm Generation X, so I don't know if it's me and the whole Gen X that's evolved things. But I remember not giving a shit about politics. Like I could care less about politics when it was Clinton, when it was Bush, when I didn't really like those guys. They didn't stand for anything I stood for. Totally different world than I came from. So what is that? So do you think society at large has completely shifted, or is it us? Is it our generation that's put this into the zeitgeist? Like, what do you think has happened here? Like, if you look at the last 15 years, it's completely gone bonkers, dude. What would you say has caused that?
On politics specifically.
On politics, politics right now to me, and again, you may not agree with this, but the general culture is really driven more by politics than I think it's ever been. Like, in other words, politics always happened in the background, but pop culture happened kind of separately on a different lane. Now politics is like, it seems to be the flashpoint of everything. Yeah. And I'm wondering when you saw that shift come where it started to become like no holds barred. Okay. Like almost like hip hop, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I got something for you. So, the late great Andrew Breitbart famously said, politics is downstream from culture. You've heard this before. Yeah. Where if you want to do anything in politics, you got to affect the culture first, and then the culture will basically sort of head in the direction you think politics is going. So, if you want to go to Trump, the culture that Trump was a part of led to him to being a part of the political establishment at this point, or even an outside anti-establishment category. Our company's Valuetainment. Yeah. There's another term out there called polytainment, which is political entertainment. Politics has become entertainment. It's become sport. It's winners, losers, team red, team blue, very tribal. Fuck you, bro. Tribal. All that. Exactly. For sure. So you said that when you were a kid, so I'm the oldest millennial, right? Early 80s, 1980, 1981.
You're kind of on the Gen X side too, bro.
There's something called a term called Zennial.
That's what you heard
that. It's an X Zennial, so it's the youngest Gen Xers and the oldest millennials, essentially 1978 to 1982, that bridge the gap between the Gen Xers, the dazed and confused generation, to the millennials. So I'm in that category, but I consider myself the oldest millennial. Anyway, so you talked about...
You don't want to be Gen X.
I don't know. Just I'm going to hang out with the young girls,
We'll leave it
30
there.
30 plus, 21 plus. So the question on politics, right, Alex? So you said you never focused on politics as a kid. When did you start paying attention?
Well,
'cause I can tell you exactly when I started paying attention, but I want to
I think the first time I thought, wow, that's interesting, was Monica Lewinsky. Like I think when I first heard that, I was like, wow, that's interesting. Like nothing really interested me. Yes. You know what I'm saying? And then it kind of went away because honestly, our politicians were really fucking boring. I mean, when you think about it, what was his name? Gore?
Yeah, Al Gore.
You couldn't, the guy was, it was really hard to listen to him. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the same thing
Global warming is coming. And we're going to do something about it.
Yeah. Exactly. And Clinton, he kind of had that affect. There was just nothing interesting. Right?
So I grew up in Miami. I was interested in like three things: hanging out with my buddies, playing sports, and maybe meeting a cute chick. Yeah. That was it. I didn't know about money. I didn't know about politics. I didn't know about the economy. I didn't know about anything like this.
How old were you at that time?
I was, 13, 14, 15, whatever. And all of a sudden, it would have been 1995, 96. I go from public school my whole life, and I get this sort of sports athletics scholarship to this elite private school in Miami. Shout out to Miami Country Day. And it was Clinton's second term running for office. Now we know in 1992 he beat George Bush Sr. and Ross Perot was the last third-party candidate to really make some waves, 19%. Yeah. But I was a huge SNL guy, huge. Like my little brother basically is on SNL these days, Marcelo Hernandez. Like, I've been watching SNL my whole life. And obviously, like, the Weekend Update stuff is always very political. And I remember they would do stuff, Ross Perot, he was this little guy out here, talk like this, bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
And he would do these things. But Clinton, I think it was Daryl Hammond that played
He'd always do the biting
Clinton.
lip.
Yeah, or it was maybe it was Phil Hartman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not have sex with that
Yeah.
woman, Miss Lewinsky. So all of a sudden, I'm like paying attention, and then I go to this private school, and they said, "Listen, we're going to do something like a big event for the school to sort of reenact the Republican primary." It wasn't so much that they were Republican or Democrat or anything like that. It was just, let's get the kids involved in understanding how politics works. You know, the Democrat candidate is Bill Clinton, so we're going to basically figure out who the nominee is,
Yep.
the Republican Party, and eventually it ended up becoming Bob Dole, but it was, Pat Buchanan at the time or whoever it was. And I remember literally not having a clue. I was like, so one of these guys is going to be the president? They're like, no, these guys, it's a primary in the Republican Party. They're fighting to see who can become the candidate to go against Bill Clinton. I was like, dude, you lost me at primary. I had no
So you
clue.
didn't know shit.
Nothing. But my dad was a big JFK guy.
Yeah.
Just, normal. And so I started learning. I get to college. I remember in 2000, Clinton's the president. I'm in Florida State, and I just didn't know the difference between a Republican and a Democrat. And I had good buddies that were Democrats, like their family were in that world.
Yeah,
and I had good buddies that were Republicans at Florida State, which is the capital of Florida, Tallahassee. It's the capital. And I actually was an intern at the Capitol building. And while the whole Clinton investigation going on, intern Monica Lewinsky, I'm like, listen, I'm not giving the governor a blowjob, but the governor at the time was Jeb Bush. So I'm seeing this all play out. Meanwhile, there's an election going on. George W. Bush versus Al Gore. You mentioned the exciting Al Gore.
Yeah.
So I'm watching all this play out in real time. The media, the fascination, the hanging chads in Florida, if you remember that.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm like, why? I don't know what team I'm on. I don't know. I like Bill Clinton, but I don't know. This George W. Bush guy is the kind of guy you get up a beer with.
Yeah.
And I'm just learning and I'm watching and observing. And they're making this big deal about Bill Clinton and getting the blowjob, Monica Lewinsky, and blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, and I was a comedian. I ended up getting into politics. And I was like, why is it a big deal that the president's getting a BJ?
Yeah.
Like, if anything, like, let's start his day with that. Let's get him off in a good mood. Let's solve some issues. By the way, it's not ironic that the last time there was a balanced budget in the United States was in the second term of Bill Clinton. And he balanced the budget. The last time that we had a balanced budget, that we weren't in a deficit.
Yeah.
And,
Those are
the famous Democratic strategist, I remember speaking with him one time, he goes, tell me what you didn't like about the 90s with Clinton, James Carville, who famously said, it's the economy, stupid. He said, what didn't you like, the peace or the prosperity? Because we had both of them. And then you see what happens, and then all of a sudden, boom, George W. Bush gets elected. Shortly after that, 9/11, everything changed.
Yeah.
Everything changed. And, the war on terror started happening. All of a sudden, we're in Afghanistan, we're in Iraq. What the hell's going on here? 9/11, we've never seen anything like this. Look, I saw the movie True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day. I understand that the Crimson Jihad, they're out there, but this is never, now it's on our soil. Holy shit, we got to pay attention to this. And that catapulted, sensationalism in media and having to pay attention and having to understand and kind of, should we be fighting this war or should we not be before? Weapons of mass destruction, Saddam Hussein, what's going on here? You couldn't escape it. It was because now it was on our turf.
Yeah.
And from there, Facebook started in mid 2000, 2005, 2006. Now that's a thing. All of a sudden, Instagram's a thing. Then social media blew up. And then I think the last point is, the beautiful thing about social media and what it's done, and you could say amazing things, that it democratizes things. It's anyone has a voice now. And the beautiful thing with social media, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, whether it's YouTube, is now anyone can say what's on their mind. It's great. The flip side to it is now anyone can say what's on their mind. And now you have idiots and assholes and people with opinions just spewing nonsense. Is it true? Is it not true? I don't know. Do I believe it? And I believe it. You're finding your audience. But it's no doubt.
Yeah. Well, like you said, the flashpoint was probably 9/11. You're
Yeah.
right. Because it came and hit us. I wanted to really learn more about you growing up, and you've already went there. So when you were 13,
Yeah.
you were in Miami.
Yep.
You were doing that Miami thing. You're, the beach. Yeah.
Going to middle school.
Going to middle
Going to
school.
class.
Going to class. Your parents were.
Yeah.
They were.
My father was a disabled businessman who
Yeah.
had cerebral palsy.
Really?
He was born with limited physical capabilities, but a smart and sly and cunning and conniving as it gets. So I respect his brain. But he was also a big dude, 6'2", 6'3",
Yeah.
big guy, athletic, but in a herky-jerky way.
Yeah.
Force to be reckoned with. And my father and I had a very contentious upbringing. My mom, just as sweet as they come, just, a loving person, nurse, empathetic, leads with her heart. So my father was a businessman, and he only employed disabled people,
Really?
mentally disabled people, to give them jobs and give them opportunities.
What kind of business?
He was a media company, aka he delivered flyers. It was Come Fly With Me Media.
Come
And
fly with
they
me.
delivered flyers for local businesses. This is pre-internet. So
It's kind
I
of like
grew
those
up-
Val packs.
Yeah, all that. That's what he did, door to door. And he'd make me work. I'd have to go door to door with all the handicapped fellas. We used a different term at the time in the 80s and 90s. And he would work, and I was part of the team with these guys. And
Wow.
I didn't want to work, but I did it.
Did you have brothers, sisters?
I had a sister.
Yeah.
She didn't have to work. She was like a ballerina, dancer, actress. We both got accepted to these exceptional schools. Me, this elite school for sports and academics, and she was an entertainer. She got accepted to a school called New World, which
Yeah.
is where in Miami all like the actresses and singers and sort of famous performers sort of come out of. So she did that. So we had this weird household of dancing and music and sports and business and handicapped people running around. As our family dinners were hilarious, but also ridiculous, and which led me to being like always taking a sarcastic tone to everything, which led me to become a comedian. But yeah, that was me growing up in Miami.
Wow. So your dad had cerebral palsy.
My dad had cerebral palsy, yes.
I know, enough about it just to know what that is.
Yeah.
But is that something that's like slowly devolves?
Yeah.
Or is it something that is there initially?
It would if you didn't know any better, you would think he had some sort of stroke. His speech kind of was
Yeah.
like this a little bit. His gait was kind of,
Yeah.
but smart, sharp, funny, witty, knew math. But he had the thing with my dad, my dad grew up in Detroit in the early 50s. He wasn't a small guy. Like,
Yeah.
you're a pretty tall guy. How tall are you?
About 6 foot.
Okay, so we're same size, 6 foot. My dad was bigger than me. And what my grandma told, I love my grandma. She's still alive, 93. My dad passed away 5 years ago, October. So it'll be 6 years coming up, 2019. She said, if somebody messes with you, just punch them straight in the face. So that
Your
might
grandma
work.
told you that?
That's my grandma told my dad that. So, if you get made fun of, his reaction was bang. And my dad could fight, and he had this like kind of weird situation going on. So he was a fighter. He was a brawler. He didn't take stuff from no one, which is,
Yeah.
I guess, good in some capacity. But he also didn't know when to turn it off.
Yeah.
So, me, smart aleck kid in Miami, just comedian, funny guy. Dude, I'd get punched straight in the face, in the head, and it would just, because I looked around, boom, whoa, dude, what? So me and my dad would get into it. People say, you ever been in any fights in your life? I was like, yeah, hundreds. And they're usually with my dad. And, I was that kid that would like literally get in fist fights with his dad, like full on. And it was crazy. It was problematic. Like, it was a whole situation.
Did that happen in front of friends?
Oh,
ever?
in front of friends, in front of people. They were like, my
What,
best
like
friend,
straight up, you guys would just go at it?
go at it, dude. Go at it. And then it got really, really bad when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, dude, I'm not 12 anymore. I'll fucking knock you out.
Yeah.
Straight up. But I don't want to, like, And I just remember the first time that my dad had kind of had me cornered. Now listen, it didn't always start off this way.
Yeah.
He'd always be like, "Oh, do this." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it later. Do it now." "Well, I'm busy." "You talking back?" It's like, "No,
Yeah.
I'm just busy, whatever." What'd I tell you? Don't disrespect. And then it would just escalate. And then his reaction was physical. And my reaction is always diffusing. I'm always that guy that's like, "Dude, go, like, relax, dude. Let's keep it cool." Because I grew up in this household of, dude, at any moment I might get punched or hit with a belt. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm always trying to diffuse. I'm never the guy looking for fights. Like, I always see kids in high school, Miami, "Yo, you stepped on my shoes, bro. What's up?" It's like, dude, you were going to fight somebody over a dirty shoe? Relax. But I remember the first time that I had to, like, get my way out of a jam, and I, just socked my dad. And I can understand that people are like, "Dude, this guy's fighting his dad." This
He must have thought you were psycho, dude.
Yeah, but this was...
That's where you grew up.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
Kill or be killed, literally.
Yeah.
And I had some traumatic stuff, but you could use this, what's fear? Forget everything and run, or face everything and rise.
Yeah.
He would say, and I don't want to paint a picture that my dad was this like brutal authoritarian. He was a good guy with a mean streak. So I never knew what I was going to get. Is this going to be a good day with dad? Is this going to be a bad day with dad? So it always kind of kept me on my toes. And, I used it despite all the, "You're not going to be anything. Listen to me. You ain't shit," whatever. I was like, "Fuck you. I'm going to make something. I don't give a shit what you have to say." Yeah. So I kind of used it as fuel to be like, "Oh yeah, watch me," rather than, "Oh man," So I remember writing it was like a Father's Day. I nominated my dad for Father of the Year, which, if you know anything about my story right now, you'd be like, "What?" And because even Pat talks about this, it says, when you're growing up, there's 3 phases that a child has with his dad, especially a boy, man. And he says, you idolize, you villainize, and then you humanize. And I don't know if I ever idolized my dad. I don't. I certainly villainized my dad. But when I got into my 20s and I graduated college and we had a whole history of nonsense, I began to humanize my dad. I smoked a joint with my dad, which was hilarious. And
how old were you then?
I was in my early to mid 20s. I was doing stand-up comedy. I was like, I didn't need him for anything anymore. And we just had these conversations, and I nominated my dad for Father of the Year because I looked back and I was like, you know what? He was abusive, he was aggressive, but he was the one that recommended that I go to this private school. He did care for me. And I boiled it down to 2 complete opposite emotions. I said my father was proud of me, but also jealous of me. Proud of me that his son, number one, turned out to be healthy. Same with my sister, accomplished. She becomes this great actress and musical theater. And I become this, as my friends say, like best Jewish athlete in Miami between football and basketball and baseball. I was doing it. I was captain of the football team, captain of the basketball team, all county, all this. So he's proud of me, but he was also very jealous. Because he's like, if I had your health, if I had what you had, I would be doing this, that, and the other. And I think that was a great motivator, but it also a great emotional trigger for him. So, man, it's...
it also helped you to kind of mature.
Yeah.
Right? Because you got your dad coming down on you.
Yeah.
And you're fighting your dad. So physically, you're becoming physically, like as you become physically stronger than your dad. Because you said, the first thing you said about your dad was he was 6'2", he was a big guy, he knew how to fight.
Yeah.
Right? So already it's like, okay, so my dad wasn't, you were making it known in this lounge that my dad wasn't some pushover.
No, my dad was...
Yeah. And by the way, you're 15, whatever, and so you got to fight a grown
12,
man.
15, yeah.
Yeah.
It helped me. It didn't teach me how to fight initially. It taught me how to move quickly. And I was a point guard. I was a wide receiver, bro. But eventually when you get cornered, you got to stand your ground. And so it does not give me pride to say that I would fight my dad. I'm like, I would fight my dad. But it's the reality of the situation. And it was, everyone knew it. My mom, my grandma, my friends, they're like, my best friend, Adrian, he's like, you have no idea how proud I am of this kid. I remember when I first started to get close with PBD. I met PBD at 2012 at a financial conference. We kept in touch. I was 32, he was 34. But we didn't end up really starting to do this type of stuff until about 2019. And PBD was like, who's like your closest person? Who's your best friend? I want to talk to him.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Adrian? And I remember Adrian had to get on a call. I think PBD just wanted to like kind of vet me, even though he knew me. He wanted to solve for skeletons in the closet. And I never heard Adrian say this. And he goes, you have no idea how proud I am of this guy. If you saw the household he grew up in with the abusive father, with the handicapped people, with the chaos and this and that, the fact that this is who he is now, like, wow. And I was like, dude, wow. Like, I remember shedding a tear. I was like, thank you for saying that. And then PBD hired me that day. And it was just like, but
you went through it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of playing the victim.
Yeah.
Because everyone can play the victim. You're to this, you're not this, I don't have this, my parents didn't this, I didn't come from anything. It's a slippery slope of playing the victim. So if you could say, all right, I didn't have it as easy as other people, but I know these people had it way worse. Gratitude, perspective. All right, let me use my skill set in the marketplace. And
that's what you did.
And that's what I did.
Yeah. So let's get into that. So there you were, you're in college, right? You went through, you had a good athletic career in high school, good enough to get you into a school that was a little bit higher than where you were in terms of standards.
Freshman year, I played football. I got a football scholarship to a school in North Carolina. I didn't like it. I ended up transferring to like the basketball team as an athlete. But I just didn't want to be in North Carolina. I transferred to Florida State, ended up having a decision to walk on and play football. I did that for a minute, and then I saw the hot chicks and dudes drinking beer. I was like, I'm going to go this route. So then I was just a intramural MVP champion at Florida State, not a football player, but man about town, enjoyed networking, enjoyed events, enjoyed meeting people, sort of a man of the people.
Is that where the comedy?
And Florida State.
Is that where the comedy started?
So
because that's a path you just don't have a
comedy. My bar mitzvah theme was comedy at 13. I won class clown in high school, or funniest, and then in college I would always do these things, but I didn't start doing full on stand up comedy until right after college. Yeah. So Florida State was a place to sort of came of my own. I was no longer having to live in the house with the chaos with the parents. I was doing my thing with my friends, with the girls, with sports, athleticism. It sort of it shaped not my IQ, but my EQ, I would say. I learned how to navigate the world in college. Yeah, that's right.
And future looked bright in college.
It always does.
Yeah. So at what point did you decide you wanted to do stand-up comedy? I mean, did you think that, okay, you're a Saturday Night Live guy, so you obviously love comedy.
Loved it.
And you know there's a way these guys got there. There's a way these guys got in front of that camera. So were you adamant about carving your path to get there? Or was it just like, hey, I'm kind of funny. People laugh at the shit I say. Yeah. You know, I'm like the comedy bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
You know, why not?
I think, when you're a kid, it's all just sort of a dream. It'd be nice. And, I was always in middle school. I was always it's a weird dichotomy. If I was in the honors classes, I was always like the least smart kid in the honors AP class. But if I was in the regular class, I was always the smartest kid in that class. So they didn't know where to put me. Did they want to be the guy who was acing all the regular stuff, or the guy who's struggling in the honor stuff? So I would always be like, well, let me just take the easy way out. But because I can, there's pictures of me where the class is right here. I'd have to sit in the way back by myself in like this little area because I was just looking to crack jokes. Not at anyone's expense, but just looking to be funny. It was just natural to me. So that was in middle school. In high school, I was new. I was the poor kid that got a scholarship to the richest school. Yeah. So I had to kind of be quick with a joke because they're all driving Mercedes and BMWs and Range Rovers. I was driving a rust-colored, broken-down Honda Accord that was my mom's old car that she got a car accident. So I had to have a sense of humor. Obviously, with the handicapped people and everything with my father, I had to do that. But in college, there was no actual path. Like, what does this look like? But then one day, so my first job out of college was with iHeartMedia, Clear Channel. I was doing some on-air stuff, doing sales. I was learning sales and on-air, kind of even what I'm doing here at Valuetainment. But I'll never forget my best friend, that same guy, Adrian. He was a stud. He was a Silver Knight Award winner, which is like a massive award for best high school students. He ends up getting a job out of college as the local ABC correspondent on the news. He's a news reporter.
Yeah.
And then he becomes, in 2004, like at the time, like the youngest correspondent hired by CNN. And he's out there in Denver covering the Kobe Bryant rape scandal, 2004. And he goes, yo, CNN put me up in this amazing pad. There's an extra bedroom here. I know you're kind of figuring out what you want to do. Why don't you come out to Denver, to Colorado, and live with me and see what's up? And I was like, okay, what's the deal? He goes, there's one catch. I go, oh, what's the catch? He goes, there's a comedy club right down the street called Comedy Works in downtown Denver. If you move out here, enough's enough. You need to get on stage.
So he'd been telling you.
Everyone knew, Adam, you need to do something with comedy, but I never, procrastination is
it's real.
Is a real thing.
Yeah.
He said, you move out here and you're going to get up on stage, bro, and you'll live for free and let's go. And he's a believer in me and I'm a believer in him and my best friend.
Yeah.
And freshman year or my first year at school, he was the newspaper reporter and I was the lowest on the totem pole in the football team. We sat in the back of the bus.
So you're a comedian, you're in Denver, struggling, making people laugh, but you're not making a lot of coin. So you come back to Miami.
Yep.
How old are you at that point?
So I'm 24 years old. I come back to Miami. I was playing a lot of basketball out there in Denver.
Yeah.
And I was doing comedy. I was doing three things out there. I was getting high on my own supply, because Denver,
Yeah.
I was playing a lot of basketball. I was in the best shape of my life, and I was doing that during the daytime, and I was telling jokes at night. That's what I was doing. And my best friend was there.
You weren't paying rent.
I was not paying rent, thank God. I was collecting unemployment. Thank you, iHeartMedia. And I was collecting food stamps, literally. I got fired from my job. I was 23, 24 years old. I had about 6 months. I wasn't paying rent. I was just scraping by, telling jokes. And my buddy was the CNN correspondent. Kobe Bryant gets off. His contract's up. Moved back to Miami. What the hell am I going to do? And I get a call from my buddy who's a gazillionaire at this point, but he was opening up his first hotel. And he goes, yo, you back in town?
Yeah.
I go, yeah. He goes, need your help opening up my first hotel at 24 years old this weekend. I could use you. I said, what the hell do I know about running a hotel? He goes, what do I know about running a hotel? It's my first one. I mean, think about what type of kid this came from. His family had hotels.
Yeah, yeah.
And he goes, I trust you and you're good with people. Let's go. So basically, I was a comedian that was getting involved in the hotel business, nightlife. I was starting to do parties. That was my world. I was a broke jack of all trades guy.
Yeah.
I was working at the hotel. I was throwing parties. I was doing stand-up. I was trying to become a sports agent. I got my real estate license. I was a substitute teacher. I'm doing all this nonsense, but I'm broke.
You're hustling.
I'm hustling. My money wasn't my primary objective. It was just like
being the guy on
town. It was just kind of, seeing what's up. I'm 24, 25 years old. And then something happened. A buddy of mine who was always sort of a kind of like a schmuck, a schmuck? Like
yeah, I know a schmuck. Like a schmendrick.
This guy.
Like a goofball.
Like a goofball. He calls me, hey, Saz, what's going on, man? I go, what's up? He goes, hey, you need a job? I go, what's up? What do you got? He goes, I made 70 grand this week. I said, you made 70 grand this week? I go, what? Yeah, doing real estate. I go, that's what you made this year?
Yeah.
The most amount of money I ever made in my life is like 20 grand at this point.
Yeah.
He's like, no, it was my Wolf of Wall Street moment. I was like, you show me a paycheck for $70,000. I quit my job. I work for you. Boom.
And you knew he was a schmuck.
And I was like, how did this happen? And I ended up kind of like working with him a little bit, but I didn't know what the story was, but it made me realize if this fucking schmuck can make 70 grand doing whatever he's doing, real estate at the time, I need a rude awakening and get out of this sort of like.
So this was like lifestyle. 2005, 2006.
2005, exactly. 2005, that's when I'm in this moment. I said, all right, money, gotta make money. It's cool when you're 23, 24, 25, you're out of college, you're figuring it out. Now you're 3 years removed from college. People have got jobs. People are becoming lawyers. Your friends are lawyers now. You know, I almost went to law school and I pivoted. I was like, you got to catch up, bro. So I said, I got to get out of Miami because this lifestyle is not conducive to success for me right now. I moved up to a city called Boca, which is about half hour north of here. I got a job as a cold caller for a startup financial firm that was just kind of starting out, that specialized in something called life insurance settlements. And they told me, listen, it's not going to be easy, but you got to smile and you dial. You got to hit the phones. And, you know, your first year, you probably won't make a lot of money. But if you stick it out, if you're one of the few that can actually make it, your second year, you can probably make 6 figures. Then the world's your oyster. I said, all right, dude. I was literally crashing on a friend's couch. I had luck, you know, they say that your network is your net worth. I always had friends. I always had, you know, people that would support me, that believed in me, and like, sure, Adam, you can crash here. All right, whatever. I would pay my dues. My first year, I made a whopping $5,000. My first year.
Your first year?
Year.
Was this commission only?
This was commission only. And
you stuck with
they
it.
moved me to minimum wage, which was, you know, $5 an hour at the time, whatever it was. Not exactly killing it. But my first year, net, I made $5,000. But I got good at it. I got good at sales. I developed, you know, they'd say that competence will turn into confidence. So I started to get good at this thing. I started calling. I was always good with understanding people, when to talk, when to not talk. They started sending me to meetings. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. I read How to Win Friends and Influence People. The most important thing you should know about somebody is their name. All right, great. Alex, how you doing, man? Blah, blah, blah. Hey, Alex, do you know so-and-so? I was using all my nightlife, you know, experience, all the EQ I learned in college about how to interact with people. You don't want to fight that guy. This guy is not who he says he is. This girl, she's hot, but she's with him. All right, read the room. Bing, 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 bing. So I started utilizing all these skill sets, my talent in the business networking world. And then, like with anything, good things take time. My second year, I started to get some deal flow. Boom, I make $100,000. Holy shit, it happened. And look at me now. And then, you know, you never get too excited, because with every good becomes a bad. With every bad, there's a good, there's a lesson. So as I make my money, my first time I've ever had decent money in my life, 2008, the recession happens. Boom, we lose our funding. You know, all the businesses around us start going out of business. We hunker down. We figure this out. I, quote unquote, learn how to save that money. And I saw one of my business partners, the guy that recruited me, was driving a ridiculous Rolls Royce, whatever he downgraded to an Audi. I was like, all right, that's a sign. All right, cool. These guys that were making millions, all of a sudden they're shutting down shop. I'm learning, I'm seeing what's going on. And someone says to me, the guy, a business associate who sold his car, he goes, how much money did you lose in the market? I said, well, none. I don't have any money in the market. He goes, well, now's not a bad time to start your 401k. I go, what's a 401k? Come here, guy. So, you know, he goes, everything's half off. The 401k is a retirement plan, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want to work forever. At some point, you're going to be 65, 70. This is sort of what that means. And, you know, sock some money away for the future. Got it. So I start my 401k. I start investing. I don't know what's going on. There was sort of like a year or two of like just hunkering down, not making a ton of money. My 100 went down to 50, still better than the 20. And then by 2010, boom, floodgates open. I say to my boss, I say, hey, I'm an account executive. I say, I stuck it out. Everyone else here is no longer here. All the other cold callers, they're gone. I'm here. I know that this is a commission-based job, so I'm not asking for a raise, but I'm asking for a title. He goes, you know what he says to me? He goes, what title do you want? Pick your title. I go, pick my title. Okay, I go, Vice President of Sales. He goes, is that what you want? I go, no, Senior Vice President of Sales. He goes, all right, make some business cards. I go, I just became the Senior Vice President of Sales. Boom. And all of a sudden, all the work that I was putting in, all the time, the effort, the relationships, the reputation started to lead to revenue.
It all came together.
Those 3 R's, the relationships, the reputation that I created, and then the revenue. I put it all together. All of a sudden, we start making money. Boom, boom, boom. Now, you know, rather than making 20 grand a year or 50 grand a year, I'm getting $50,000 commission checks, $100,000 commission checks. Oh my God. This is, but it's because I planted the seeds. I got good at something and I never screwed people over. I understood that these transactions that I was doing takes 3 to 6 months. This isn't a wham, bam, thank you, mom deal. So over the course of a deal, over the course of the transaction, I'm getting to know people. Hey, how you doing? Listen, this is not a 24-hour deal. You're going to have to, whether you like it or not, you're going to have to deal with me for the next 6 months. So let's enjoy each other's company. And I started developing these deep relationships in the business world. And I became sort of the face of my company. They'd send me all to all the business meetings, all the conferences. And I started developing this network, and which led me in 2012, I would go to this conference every year called NAILBA, NAILBA, National Association of Independent Life Brokerage Agencies. And I'm in the gym because you eating good, you're drinking good. I said at this time, let me at least try to stay in shape. And I'm in the gym. There's one other guy in the gym, Alex. And who is it? It's some guy named Patrick Bet-David.
Yeah.
And he had just started his company 2009. He hadn't blown up yet. He hadn't started Valuetainment. That would be another year or two later. And we were just two dudes working out in the gym, talking shop,
life
whatever.
insurance.
Hey, what's up, man? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing here? Oh, again, remember? And we just kept in touch. And that started this relationship that I have with Pat. And I didn't end up starting working with Pat until 2019. That was 7 years later. But again, the reputation, the relationships, which eventually led to revenue. So I'm thankful for the path that I took. And now we're here at Valuetainment.
Yeah.
And we're just getting this thing started.
Well, here's the thing. You took a job that was a commission job.
Yep.
Okay. Where you're cold calling. Okay. Those are the type of jobs that people usually stay in for, I don't know, a week, a day.
Yeah.
Right. What was it that had you go in and deal with people that said, no thanks, goodbye? What was it? Like, what was that? There must have been a thread that kept you going, because that, from what I've seen and listening from this end, whatever that was the catalyst that just got you to where everything started to open up.
Yeah.
So what do you think that was?
So, great question, Alex. Because what was it that made me stick it out?
Yeah.
When literally everyone else quit, got fired, didn't work, 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, gone, because the commission lifestyle is not easy. The number one thing was I knew what going backwards would lead to. I'm going to go back to throw parties in Miami. I'm going to get back up on stage. Do I want to go all in on that? I don't. Is it cool to be funny and famous? Yes. Do I want to be 26 years old living on my friend's couch, or 28 or 30? Nah, not for me. Which I'll circle back to what I did when I was 35, 36, when I ended up opening up a comedy club when I had money, which is a whole sort of a full circle moment for me. So I didn't want to go backwards. Am I willing to put in the work and eat shit for a year for the promise of, if planting these seeds grow, they turn into trees? Am I willing to do that? Yes, I am. And am I willing to deal with fear of rejection, fear of being poor, people literally being like, because it was a new product and was sort of like a sort of frowned upon product at the time. Now it's a legitimate financial product, but at the time it was sort of a new thing. Don't fucking call me again. You guys are a piece of shit. Click. And I'm like, damn.
But you go on and make the next call.
Someone told me, they said, listen, get 2 jars and get 100 marbles or whatever it is. And every day, when you make a call, you take 1 marble and you put it in the other jar. So no matter what that person said, good, bad, or ugly, don't call me again. It's just a marble. Bing. Next marble. Ding. And eventually, the jar that was full is going to be empty, and the jar that was empty is going to be full, and you're going to look back at your day, you're going to make 100 calls, whatever it is, and you're going to have some data, some evidence. How did you do? And if you, I call it CPR. If you're consistent, you're persistent, and you're resilient, CPR, good things are going to happen. The name of the guy that I found the deal, I'll never, because I made like 20 grand on one deal. And I was like, oh my God, I've never even made 20 grand in a year. This is insane. And, you know, that was the biggest differentiator for me, because then you have a taste of success. It took me a year, but now like, oh man, this is real. This is a thing. You know, I would go to my ATM and the most I would ever have is $300, $500, you know, maybe 1,000 most. And I go to my ATM, I had 15 grand in there. I was like, fuck yeah. And I remember I was dating a girl at the time. It would have been 2006, 2007. And I remember going to the ATM, seeing how much was in there, accidentally dropping the receipt, and her being like, hey, I'm sorry. And being like, yeah, you like that girl? Yeah. And having 10 grand to your name, this is actually important, meant more to me, 10 grand when I looked in my bank account, than the day that I found out that my net worth was over $1 million. I was like, all right, cool. I hit $1 million. That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Onward and upward. But man, when you go from broke to having 10 grand, dude, you're like, all right, I can go to any restaurant I want. I can take any girl on a date that I want. It's so liberating.
Yeah.
So now when I do a lot of coaching and consulting, I have my whole 6 principles of wealth. I say, listen, if you're a young guy, young girl out there, before you start trying to become Warren Buffett and an investor and you do all this and you become the crypto guy and whatever, have 10 grand to your name. It'll change your perspective. And I totally advocate that. So that's why I stuck it out. I saw that my CPR, my consistent, persistent, and resilient lifestyle led to me going from sleeping on friends' couches to being able to afford rent on my own, to having enough money in the bank to at least have a deep breath. And then it was next level from that. But that was a big moment for me, having 10 grand in my bank account.
Yeah. So that was one big moment for you, right? And then you get into the world of actually owning a comedy club, you mentioned, right? So how far between you having your net worth at $1 million and saying, let's keep going, did you take that stake to
that was about 10 years later.
Yep.
After 10 years of being in the business, I found myself going from broke as a joke, telling jokes, to holy crap, like I've got money in the bank. I made some good decisions. I made some good investments. I did some really big deals. I had some money. I was dating a girl that was from 2012 to basically 2016. That was like, you know, the relationship basically looked like the stock market on a good and bad week. It was like this: we're together, we're not together, we're gonna break up. Oh my God, we're gonna get engaged. Oh my God, we're gonna get married. Oh my God, we're kicking her out of the country. Like, it was chaotic.
It's 4 years.
But it was 4 years of that.
Yeah.
And but in the midst of that, I was starting to make major money. And she saw that, and she was, you know, I want a purse, I want this, I was like, all right, well, like, so in 2016, there was a lot going on. I basically had my biggest year ever at my company. Made a great amount of money, for at least for me at the time.
Yeah.
And it was sort of the culmination of all these deals I was working on for the last year. Huge payday. I basically said, listen, I'm no longer going to be coming in every day to Boca. I've done that for 10 years. I'm just full-time Miami. I'll come in when you need me, working remote, and which liberated me to having extra time. The girl I was dating, we ended it finally. And I said, I got all this time and money on my hands. I want to do something more. Because what I always say is, everything in finance that I do, it's what I do, it's not who I am. Who I am is naturally that 24-year-old kid who wants to tell jokes and hang out and party and meet people and do all that. So I basically re-engage with all my other friends, this time actually having some money and skin to the game that I can put in, and say I want to kind of work out some stuff. And we ended up opening up a bar and comedy club, and it ended up becoming a massive hit. And then I started getting into social media a little bit. I started basically saying, listen, when I was 25, I was my broker's friend. 35, I became a millionaire. You could do it too. Giving back. So I started utilizing all my skill sets of, comedy, networking, nightlife, business, fun, events, and doing that in South Beach, but at the same time maintaining my primary income source. And that's when the comedy club happened, the bar happened, and everything was happening with Trump, social media, the elections. You couldn't look away. 2016. That's when I ended up talking with Pat. I was like, dude, I want to start doing social media. He started encouraging me to do stuff. And that's kind of when it all happened. And then in 2016, the bar, the club, comedy, the election, that was a big year.
It sounds like it. Was that the year you started doing coaching?
That's the year I started doing social media.
Yeah.
No coaching yet. I started doing coaching 2 years in when I basically said, wow, I've been doing social media. I've been interviewing anyone I can get my hands of about money. So my whole brand was save that money. All we talk is money. Saws talks money, 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 money. And they say that the riches are in the niches.
Yeah.
I was late to what I call the cool guy contest on Instagram, which started in 2012. I'm on a jet. I'm in St. Bart's. I'm in Mykonos. I'm at the club. I'm popping bottles. I was doing all that, but I captured zero of it on social media.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was, my best friend, other than the guy Adrian, my other best friend was the guy Chris Humphries.
Yeah.
The NBA player that married Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
So I was a groomsman in the Kardashian Humphries wedding. I was walking Chloe down the aisle. I was doing all this stuff, 2010, 2011, 2012, capturing it, none of it on social media. None of it.
Yeah.
A lot of it was prior to Instagram. So I shied away from it. So finally I said, if I'm going to do stuff on social media, I'm already late to the cool guy contest. So I have to actually go the business route.
Yep.
Which caught on. And it started it going from interviewing people to someone said, why do you always just interview people? What do you have to say? I go, fuck. What do I have to say? I don't know. I'm just interviewing people. They go, well, kind of want to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah.
I go, oh, damn. So I said, let me put together my thoughts, which is a scary endeavor because interviewing people, as you know, you're picking their brain. Hey, I got 10 questions here. Here's what I want to know. Here's what I'm solving for. Go. You're the expert. But now you want to interview me? Now you want to hear what I have to say? Yeah. Now you want me just to talk on camera for 5, 10, 50 minutes, an hour about something? I don't know. But just like comedy, your comfort zone will kill you. You got to get out there and get on stage, and you can't let fear be your motivator. Or if it is your motivator, you have to rise up. And all of a sudden, I'm developing what I stood for in terms of my finances. And around 2018, that's where I started. I developed my 6 principles of wealth, money, everything that we learn in school is they teach us the ABCs, algebra, biology, chemistry. They got me taking wood shop out here. You think I'm sawing things? That ain't my deal. But they don't teach you about money. Why is that? What's going on there? What do you learn about money? How do you learn about money? Why are 2/3 of Americans perennially living paycheck to paycheck? Why do half of all Americans not have $500 to their name? What's going on here? And it's because of lack of financial coaching and financial resources. Let me figure out what my plan is. I developed the 6 principles of wealth. I said, listen, you don't need to read 100 different books or take 50 different classes. Get good at these 6 things. I'll walk you through them. Bing, 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 bing. And develop a strategy with that. That ended up becoming part of my consultancy. And then everything sort of culminated around 2019. And then COVID happened, PBD. I ended up moving to Dallas. And now I took my talents from South Beach to Dallas. And now I do a lot of my consulting on Connect. I'm so thankful that PBD built this app and everything that we're doing. And now I find myself in what I call the chillin' phase of life. I walk people through these 6 principles of wealth. I say, number 1, you have to have a game plan for your money. You got to figure out what's coming in the door, what's going out the door. A lot of people call this a budget or a zero-based budget. You got to have a game plan. Number 2, before you can win, don't lose. Don't lose the interest rate game. Don't lose the debt game. Debt, in my opinion, is the worst 4-letter word in the world. It's worse than the F word or the S word, whatever. Like if you're drowning on debt, alarms are sounding. Number 3, save that money. Remember that story about the 15 grand? It's amazing. Number 4 is that you need to invest and use time and compound interest as your friend and have your money grow over time. And you as yourself are an appreciating asset, growing over time. Number 5, you need to protect your wealth and make sure that you're not everything that you're working on with the offensive side of money, saving, working, income, everything that you're not losing, and you have a good defense, protection, insurance, estate planning, legacy planning, everything with that. But number 6 is the big thing, is what is your chillin'? If you were chilling, you had millions in the bank, whatever your number is, whatever your magic number is, and you owned your time. You know, they say time is money.
Yep.
If you didn't have to wake up and run off to work every day, you could just own your time. You were quote unquote chilling. What would you do every day? And there's only 3 answers that people basically give, is that number 1, they would travel. I want to travel. I want to travel. I want to travel. I want to see the world. I want to travel. And I always say, that's great. What do you do after a year of traveling? Because you're going to want to come home and you're going to want to do something else. Great. Everyone wants to travel, see the world. Great. Go deeper. Number 2, I want to work on something I'm passionate about. I'm so passionate about this. It could be photography. It could be comedy. It could be podcasting. It's something you would do for free.
Yeah.
It doesn't demand money or an income. You would do it for free. That's something you're passionate about. All right, you would do that. What else? Man, I would, they would say I would give back. I would donate my time. So whether you're donating your time to charities, the Special Olympics, to homeless shelters, to animals, to battered women, whatever it is, you would do that. You don't demand money for it. You would do it for free. This is what I call your chilling. You find that sweet spot where you don't have to work. You choose to work. Because when I started interviewing the multimillionaires and the billionaires and the people that basically run all this estate planning conferences, I said, let me ask you a question. I've been interviewing everybody about money. What do you do after you make all the money and you save all the money and you're out of debt and you invest and you build the companies? What do you do then? And they say, you leave a legacy. You do legacy planning. You do philanthropic endeavors. You give back. You donate your time. You create a name for yourself. You make sure that your future generations are taken care of. It's all legacy planning. I said, so you don't just retire and stop working? They go, no. You think the rich people just stop and retire and do nothing? Retirement is for paycheck to paycheck people. I'm going to work till I'm 67 and I am done.
Yeah.
Whereas rich people say, dude, I could have retired at 40, at 50, whatever. I'm not going to stop until the day I die. So I realized, aha. So I became chilling at 36. I'm chilling. I got money. I don't have major expenses. I say keep your overhead low and your flexibility high.
Yeah.
All right, I'm moving, I'm grooving. I see what I got going on. You know, living in Boston. Now I'm living in Austin. Now I'm moving to Miami. Now I'm in Miami, Ohio. Now I'm traveling. Now I'm here and I'm there. You know, that's very easy to do, and it's a lot better to do when you don't have kids. You don't have dependents that are dependent on you. But that's what I did. I moved to Dallas. I teamed up with PBD. Then we moved back to Florida. I've been running and gunning with him. But it all started with me understanding a few key principles. When I make money, I need that money to be saved and invested so I can grow and my money can grow and I can grow as a person. I'm born and raised in South Beach. I've seen people spend all their money on clubs and bottles and boats and hoes and this and that and cars. And then I see them a few years later and they're asking me for a job. I'm like, what? You were the guy spending 10 grand at the club. What happened? Yeah. So money is a tool. Money's allows you to do what you want to do in life. And I find myself in this chilling phase where I'm able to do all those 3 things. I'm able to travel and see these amazing places, but it's for a bigger sense of purpose. I'm able to work on my passions, which are having fun, telling jokes, learning, meeting great people, but also donating and giving back and helping people accomplish what they want to accomplish. Because, you know, what's the famous phrase? If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go as a team. Yeah. So I'm with my team here at Valuetainment. I'm with my team here at Connect, at Bet David Consulting. And I think we're planning on going very far with this whole show.
Yeah, you guys are going far.
I think so.
What do you think it is about the show that's so appealing? And let me give you...
About PBD Podcast?
Yeah, let me give you my...
yeah, tell me.
My take on it. and this might be a little bit different than what you think, but you know Howard Stern, right? He went woke as who doesn't know him, right?
He really did.
He went as far the other way as you could possibly
COVID
go. Broke him, and he always had that issue. But when I used to listen to him, and I used to think about why is it that I listen to Howard? Like, what is it about Howard, right? It's his voice.
Yeah.
Part of it is his voice. He uses his voice. His voice kind of takes over the entire, like when he's talking, his affect takes over the show.
Yeah.
And he kind of brings you in, right? And then you think about, okay, who else is on that show? Well, you
Robin.
got Robin, who also has a voice that kind of takes Baba Booey. Beetlejuice.
Well, he had Artie Lang.
Yeah. Jackie. Yeah. Oh yeah. So
I mean, massive. You know, before podcasts were a thing.
Yeah,
he was the guy.
He was it.
Him,
and by the way,
Limbaugh.
he shit all over podcasts initially, but so he didn't have the right idea there. But I think that PBD podcast is similar in that specifically whether it's you, Vinny, whether it's Tom, whether it's Pat, each one has a unique voice, like literally, right, and a unique affect, and each person contributes almost in a Howard Sternish way. Like you have an Artie who could be a Vinny. Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
And or you got Pat, right? You know, he's got a little bit, and he goes into his like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have
I'm liking the
the
interpretations here. Keep going down the list. Do the Tom. Do the Tom now. Do the
I
Adam.
can't do Tom. Tom's the Fred probably of
case
the
example.
maybe you're the Baba Booey.
I'll take it.
I don't know, but my point is, it's because look, you can throw a rock and hit 100 political shows, right?
Yeah.
But where I grew up in DC, there was something called the Sports Junkies, and I've heard of them. You remember those guys? They used to. I don't even know if they ever got out of DC, but they'd basically take sports, and it was a bunch of guys that came together, and they'd argue and they'd talk and they'd do that. It was very much Howard-ish, and I think knowing or unknowing, it's kind of like the way PBD's taken politics, put it into it's a typical format. Topics of the day, go through all the topics, everybody talks about them, and it's rotated in a certain way, but it's done very intentionally. And I think, whether it's intentional or not, the voices on the show are appealing. Each person has his own. You're sort of the liberal of the crew. I wouldn't call you liberal, but you're the kind of
depending on who's on the show. I'm a woke communist liberal, or some people, my friends I grew up with, are like, dude, you're as MAGA as it gets, bro. So I'm a very moderate, centrist, reasonable person. But depending on who you ask, I'm either far gone right or far gone left. But I'm dead center. I'm a JFK Democrat, which is probably center right at this point. Yeah. We see where RFK is at this point. So
yeah. So that's what I put there. So I guess the last question is, where do you see PBD going? Where do you see Valuetainment going? Like, good? We're good? Cool.
Where do I see Valuetainment going?
Where do you see that going? Then I got another question we're going to wrap it up with.
Good, dude.
But I want to see where you and this organization ends up.
So here's one thing I can tell you about Pat. This guy ain't going to stop, man. This guy is not going to stop until everything he wants to get done and then some happens while he's here on Earth. And a guy like me needs a guy like Pat. Why? Because there's different levels to everything. My goal when I was 25 and broke, one day I'm going to be a millionaire and I'm going to live in a sick apartment in downtown Miami, and I'm gonna be the man in Miami, dude. I'm gonna know everybody, and everyone's gonna know me, and I'm gonna have the money and the chicks. All right, great, that happened. Sort of a cool dream to have, but there's more to life. There's more things to do. What's next? What's the next mountain to climb? So when I teamed up with Pat, I was like, I've got, X amount on Instagram. I've got X amount in the bank. Not in a cocky way, but like, hey, I've done something.
I've made it somewhere, yeah.
But I'm realizing I'm not anywhere near Pat's level.
Yeah.
All right. Let me humble myself and learn. And there was also the part of me that, to go back to my sports stuff, I played on team sports. I was a basketball guy. I was a football guy. I was a baseball guy. I loved the dugout in baseball. I loved the locker room or the huddle in football. I loved the practices and the teammates, the relationships. I wasn't a tennis player. I wasn't a golfer. I wasn't a wrestler. I wasn't a solopreneur. And I found myself in the social media world becoming a solopreneur. It was just me. I said, I don't operate well like this. Let me figure out who I can run with, running mates, teammates, that I can align with, that can amplify my brand, but I can amplify their brand, right? So I learned everything that I used from all my relationships going on, because I was never the number one guy. It's actually a good lesson for a lot of people out there. Everyone wants, I want to be the man. I want to be the star. I want to be the billionaire. It's like, why don't you be the number 2 guy to that guy? Well, what do you mean? I want to be the man. You could still be the man, bro. Scottie Pippen was the man, but he just worked with a guy called Michael Jordan, right? You know, depending on who you ask, Kobe Bryant was the man, but he played with Shaq.
Yeah.
Okay? And you can go down the list here of whoever it is. I said, if I run with Pat, he's the man. I don't have to have the CEO mindset, the entrepreneur mindset, the overhead, the headaches, I don't want that.
That's wise.
I operate way better as a number 2, amplifying the number 1, amplifying the brand, being a flag carrier, being a brand ambassador almost. I said, if I run with Pat, I'm doing something bigger than myself. I'm running with the team.
Yep.
You know, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go as a team. So boom, I'm in teammateville. This is where I wanted to be. Awesome. So then you asked about PBD Podcast, why it works. You know, we started PBD Podcast in June of 2020. COVID, BLM riots, George Floyd had just happened, you know, election season. It was chaos in 2020. We didn't know what the hell the world was going on. We start the podcast. A lot of people don't know this, but the initial name of the PBD Podcast was called The Unusual Suspects, which eventually turned into PBD Podcast, and now there's a show that Vinny hosts called The Unusual Suspects. But it was Pat, myself, and a third guy who was full on as MAGA as it gets. And I wasn't really there at the time. And it just was dynamic, and people were arguing, and I was the woke, crazy liberal, but I really wasn't. I'm just a dude that wasn't a fan of Trump. And that's how kind of like everything started. And I've seen, you know, Pat always says this 4-pronged approach to success. He says, outwork, out-improve, out-strategize, outlast. So, Alex, you have no idea how many times people have, fire Adam, he's this and that. How dare you have this guy on the show? Oh my God, he doesn't support Trump, or, you know, he supports Trump too much, whatever it was. Fire Adam, fire Adam, fire Adam. And he would say, Adam, outwork, out-improve, out-strategize, outlast. So here I am, almost 5 years later. We've gone through dozens of co-hosts. And then ultimately Tom came on board. You know, Tom's the
straight
biz
guy.
doc. And 2 years ago, Vinny came on. And Vinny was a comedian, and now he's like this angry patriot guy. It's funny to see what he's turned into. But we're all very opposite type of people.
Yeah.
But we have a common goal. We believe, number 1, in teamwork. We believe in those 4 components of success: outwork, out-strategize, outlast, everything like that, out-improve. And we believe in the foundation of America. We love America. We believe in capitalism. We believe in free enterprise. We believe in entrepreneurship. We believe the country needs to be headed in a better direction. But we all have different components and different perspectives on how to get there, and that's great. And we respect each other's opinions, and we're not afraid to debate. And we're not afraid to get upset with each other and get mad. And, you know, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes you're like, I will punch you straight in the face, Tom.
Your dad's showing up.
Straight up. But I'm like, why am I really going to punch this old man in the face? I will. No. But I was like, give me a hug, dude. I'm sorry. Then we'll have lunch. But I think that's a lot of what America is missing, is that you can argue with somebody and disagree, but then go have lunch with them and give them a hug.
Yeah.
And that hasn't existed, to go back to your initial question, that really hasn't existed since the late 90s with Clinton and Newt Gingrich. And
that's right.
It's been so fractured. And I think we do a good job of showing, like, look, our good buddy is Chris Cuomo, poster child of CNN and the liberals. I fucking love Chris Cuomo. Will I argue with Chris on certain points, or will Vinny argue with? Yes. Candace Owens, holy moly, love Candace. The things she's saying these days are outlandish.
Out there, yeah.
But I don't attack her. I attack maybe some of her opinions. I think in this country, I think we're at a point where it's like, look, do you love America? Yes. Do you want what's best for America? Do you want what's best for your family, for your kids? Yes. Let's figure out a path to get there. Now, if your answer is, do you love America? No, fuck America. Get the fuck out of here then.
Yeah.
This is the one country one of the few countries where you can shit on America, yet still live in America. Good luck shitting on Russia while in Russia. You're in jail, or in China, or in Iran. So we have such an amazing opportunity here, such an amazing country. We have so many natural gifts that keep us safe, like, the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean.
That's a big one.
It's a kind of a big one, that we're not in the middle of all the nonsense.
Yeah.
And we're so lucky to be here. Your mom is from Iran, I believe, right?
Yeah, she's from Iran.
Yeah. Ask people from Iran if they want to move there or stay in America. They already know.
You want to go back to Iran, Mom?
Yeah. I don't like Iran. I get it. So we're so lucky. We're so fortunate.
My mom just said she's proud of Adam, and she's proud of herself.
Proud of the son that you created. He's a good boy. Okay, we can do one more question. I'll wrap up. I gotta.
Yeah. So my last question is really so what's next for you, right? So you've done all this, and there's still so much more to be had. You're coaching. You have a millionaire mindset. You're helping others. You're in the media now, a lot different than your dad. You're not passing out Val packs. You might be punching Tom.
Not passing out flyers. I'll punch Tom, yeah.
So what is it now that's missing, or what is it now that you feel is the next chapter for you, man, personally?
You're catching me in an interesting phase, because we all have those moments in life where it's sort of like a moment of reckoning, like, oh, bam. Like the last time this phase of my life that I'm in, the last time it happened to me was in 2019. Everything was going great. I was in a different relationship, and all at once, everything kind of came crumbling down. The girl I was dating, young, beautiful girl, ends up getting sick, cancer, leukemia. Unbelievable. What? Unbelievable. She lived in Michigan. I'm going and traveling back and forth, and I'm dealing with this. It's horrible. I feel for her. I feel for her family. There was that. And while I'm dealing with that was on July 4th, 2019. She got diagnosed. So all summer I'm going back to Michigan. October 10th of 2019, my mom calls me and she goes, your father passed away. I was like, whoa, didn't see that one coming. Him and I weren't even speaking at the time. And that hit me like a ton of a brick. So now I'm dealing with the sick girlfriend, the dead dad, the family. I'm a very sort of jovial, happy-go-lucky, positive dude by nature. I end up getting sort of depressed. It sort of culminated on Christmas Eve, where I'm like the lonely Jew at home by myself. I'm usually with my girlfriend or girlfriend's family, Christmas, what have you. Nowhere to go, home alone, no gifts. What's going on? My social media is on pause. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And time to snap out of it. That best friend, the guy from CNN, all that, says, let's go. We're going out on New Year's. I said, I don't want to go out. Snap out of it. If you've ever saw that movie with Cher, Moonstruck with Nicolas Cage, I snap out of it. And 2019 was a crazy time. I ended up getting back with Pat. I was like, look, dude, I'm going insane over here. I team up with Pat, changed my life. And then for the past 5 years, I've just been running and gunning with Pat. Whatever you need me to do, we're doing sales, great, we're doing sales. We're doing content, we're doing content. You need help with merch, I got the merch stuff. You need sponsors, I got you. We're running, we're gunning. Hey, we're living in Dallas now. You want me to help recruit people in Miami? I know everyone in Miami. Let's go, we're moving, we're grooving. All right, do. And this past summer, I had sort of a moment of reckoning again. I had a little health scare with my voice, with my throat, where it turned out to be no big deal, but I wasn't able to speak for 2 weeks. I had to pause.
Wow.
I said, all right, let me go back to the drawing board. Let me see what's going on. Is this a sign? What's going on here? 5 years to the day that my girl got cancer, I had this scare. Oh shit, that's symbolic. Okay, that's crazy. July 4th, I couldn't speak. And July 4th, 5 years ago, she got diagnosed. Great. Wow, this is crazy. So I took the summer. I was, living the bachelor life in Miami, having fun. Pat always says, the two closest people in my ear are PBD, family guy, businessman, multimillionaire. Let's go, buddy. Clock's ticking. Let's go. You're 43 years old. Like, get this thing going, whatever. Kids, family, let's go. Yeah, you're right, Pat. Let's go. Then my best friend, Don Juan DeMarco out here in South Beach, he's got, he's just, who knows what he's ever going to settle down and have kids. And he's like, this is you. This is you. And he says, you need to decide. I said, all right, decide. Decide what? He goes, you know what the Latin word for decide is? What it means? He goes, to cut off. You need to cut off one or the other. You're going to be the bachelor guy and, be the 50-year-old dude in the club with the young hot chicks, or you're going to be a family man. So I took the summer to sort of reinvent myself, I won't say reinvent, repolish myself, refurbish myself, and figure out who I want to be. So I'm in that phase right now. Who does Adam want to be? And it's an ongoing conversation with myself, and I'm so grateful that I'm in this phase right now, and I'm excited to see what comes, what the future Adam looks like. I know that I want to have a family and have kids. I don't know if it's going to be in the next, 1 year or 5 years, but I know I'm trending in that direction. I definitely don't want to be the 50-year-old guy in the club. I don't want to be Bill Maher, 70 and single. I don't want to be that guy. So I thank PBD for giving me that insight, but ultimately it's on me. So I'm excited for what the future holds. And as we say around here, the future looks bright, baby. So,
future looks bright. Yeah. And there's always something to look forward to, no matter what the age. Always something to look forward to. Life is always full of surprises. Thank you so much for sharing. I've learned a lot. You have so many acronyms, first of all. I mean, network is your net worth. Yeah. FEAR, CPR. I'm going to write these all down.
Acronyms. I like that. Yeah. I like alliteration. Those words. Acronyms. And I learned something, guys.
Yeah, dude. That was
so
awesome.
Where are we driving everybody to? Everybody that's watching the Alchemist Lounge, where do you want them to follow? I want them to get some value here. Where should we drive them to?
Well, I think where we want to drive them to is that no matter where you are in your 20s, no matter where you are in life, there's a thread that pulls you through. And the whole point of the Alchemist Lounge is there's alchemy behind it all. And what you've done is you've illuminated the alchemy in your life specifically on different particular points when things shifted. And we happen to be talking to you at a time which is a shift. So people that are watching or listening, no matter where you are in life, there's always alchemy. There's always an opportunity, and things may go in a completely different direction that you may not expect. So don't think because you're in your mid 40s and you may be, at owning a company or owning a club that in 10 or 15 years, you can't be doing something completely different in a different country with a whole different mindset. Anything is possible. And where you are today, you just walked us, me and our listeners and our viewers through an entire saga from your childhood. And now future is completely not just bright, but it's a mystery. Yeah. And don't ever think that your lives are not going to change and going to evolve. Because as I said earlier, the nature of life is to grow.
Yes.
And that's where we're driving
them to. If you're not growing, you're dying. My buddy told me that. And, it's funny because, we just did the Vault, the massive event that we did, PBD, The Rock. It was awesome. And I was listening and following along, and I've heard these things for the past 5 years, but it hit me different this year because I'm going through that season right now. Yeah. That season of change. What's the song? To every season, change. So
turn. No, turn. We fucked that up.
We're doing a lot of singing out here. I was gonna say turn. You went change. I went change.
I fucked it up.
But they say the one constant in life is change.
Yep.
And I'm reading a book that I read like 20 years ago, and it's the most simplistic book that you can read in an hour, and it's called "Who Moved My Cheese?"
Oh yeah,
you remember that book?
Of course.
And they're basically saying, listen, at any point, someone's going to move the cheese.
That's right.
So you think you're going this way? No, they moved the cheese away. All right, I got to go this way. And you can sit and complain, why they move my cheese? Or it's like, all right, they moved the cheese. Let's go. We got to eat. Let's go. That's right. So they moved the cheese. Now I got to go follow the other set. So I've realized something about myself. Last thing is the first hour that something happens, something happens, and I'm like, fuck, these pieces, I'm gonna, and then after, calm down.
Yep.
Let's strategize. Boom. Let's go. Who moved the cheese? We got to go.
Yeah.
But it's not easy. A lot of people get upset, but then they carry that anger. And I want to bottle that up, use that anger, that emotion. All right, cool. I see what you did there. I ain't going to forget that. All right, what's next? And that's kind of the next thing is you always got to pivot. There's always going to be another dragon to slay, another mountain to climb, and keep on keeping on, baby.
Keep on and have patience.
Let's go.
Have patience, man, because nothing gets built in a day.
Play the long game, especially as a young man.
Play the long game.
Life is a marathon.
Play the long game. Life is a marathon. Future looks bright. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Sauce. Adam Sosnick, co-host of PBD Podcast. He has the Millionaire's Mindset. He has the Sauce with the Saucecast. Yeah, where he's going to talk all about how, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're interested in just learning how to take care of your money, whatever it is, he's got the answer. He's got comedy.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see what he does. I have a feeling there's marriage coming in. He's like in this conversation.
Thank you.
In this conversation,
My mom would be very happy to hear that.
It's true. Well, we created possibility in this conversation,
Yeah.
and I really appreciate you doing
Well, you've
that.
got a great gift, man. You're a very good host.
Thank you.
You're very relaxing, but you also ask very good questions. So I've enjoyed this.
Thank you. Thank you. Hope to have you back. Thanks,
Anytime.
Adam. Thanks, Adam.
See you guys.